In the heart of the North Pole, Santa's workshop is a bustling hive of activity. Twinkling lights hang from beams, creating a warm and welcoming glow, while the gentle hum of machines accompanies the elves' cheerful chatter. Each elf, dressed in festive colors, works tirelessly at their station, ensuring everything is perfect for Christmas Eve. At the painting station, Elma, an elf with a knack for detail, puts the final touches on a wooden train set. Her eyes squint slightly as she concentrates on painting a delicate smile on a toy clown. Just next to her, Jackson, a merry elf with an infectious laugh, stuffs plump stockings with candies and little gifts. Meanwhile, Marlowe, the workshop's sleigh expert, polishes Santa's sleigh until it gleams like a ruby under the workshop's bright lights. He takes pride in ensuring that it's not only beautiful but also robust enough to withstand a journey around the world in one night. As the elves work, an urgent whisper passes from elf to elf, echoing the length of the workshop. A special gift is missing. Elma, always resourceful, assembles a team of her fellow elves and begins the search. Their perky hats bob as they race through corridors lined with toys and wrapping paper. The search takes them through the jolly maze of the workshop, past rows of toy soldiers standing to attention and plush teddy bears with stitched grins. They finally reach the archives, an old room filled with shelves of Christmas memories. Jackson's laughter fills the room as he digs through a pile of colorful boxes. At last, under an overturned box of bells, they find the missing present, a small, ornately wrapped box with a golden bow. The elves cheer triumphantly, and Elma hugs the gift to her chest. Back in the main workshop, Santa appears, his eyes twinkling with warmth and gratitude. "Thank you, my dear elves," he says with a smile that could melt a snowman. "You've saved Christmas Eve once again." With the sleigh loaded and all gifts accounted for, the elves watch as Santa takes off into the starlit sky, his ho, 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 echoing through the crisp night air, ready to spread joy around the globe. In the cozy, snow-covered village of the North Pole, nestled between twinkling lights and softly singing sleigh bells, Santa Claus sat in his dimly lit study. His half-moon spectacles rested on his nose as he peered closely at the thick, ancient, leather-bound book before him. This was no ordinary book. It was his magical list, constantly alive with swirling, shimmering names, categorizing children across the globe based on their deeds over the past year. Santa scanned the list meticulously, humming a holiday tune to himself while he decided who had been good and who had been not so exemplary. Little paper scrolls floated out of the tome whenever he made a decision, magically rolling themselves and landing gently in a special, brightly colored sack at the corner of his desk. Just as he let out a deep, content sigh, the door creaked open slowly, and Mrs. Claus waltzed in with her usual warmth. Her cheeks were rosy from the cold, and her hands held a large, whimsical plate filled with freshly baked cookies, dusted lovingly with powdered sugar. Just what I needed," Santa explained, his eyes lighting up behind the spectacles as the warm, sugary smell filled the room. Mrs. Claus chuckled softly, It looks like you could use some energy, dearest. And I thought these might do the trick. She placed the plate on the desk and poured him a steaming mug of hot cocoa, complete with tiny marshmallows bobbing at the surface. "Thank you, my love," Santa said, reaching for a cookie and taking a big, satisfying bite. He closed his eyes with appreciation as the sweetness spread over his taste buds. "How many more names to go?" she asked warmly, leaning over his shoulder. "Oh, just a few thousand," Santa said with a chuckle. "But don't you worry, the elves are helping with logistics, and these cookies and cocoa should keep my spirits high." Mrs. Claus smiled and wrapped her arm affectionately around Santa's shoulder. "We've got this, Nick," she whispered, kissing his cheek gently, as Santa continued his work, occasionally munching on the delicious cookies. The globe's children slept soundly, unaware that such thoughtful predictions and caring decisions were being made in the shimmering winter world of the North Pole. And so, with Mrs. Claus by his side, Santa's task of spreading joy and cheer would soon reach another magical conclusion. Santa Claus, with his glowing red suit and jolly smile, stood amidst the bustling workshop in the North Pole. The elves, as busy as bees, scurried around, organizing and wrapping packages of all shapes and sizes. The clock was ticking down to Christmas Eve, and everyone knew the importance of getting Santa's sleigh ready. Leading the packing operation was Twinkle, the tallest of the elves, known for his keen eye for detail. Twinkle took on the role of a maestro, orchestrating the symphony of movement as elves formed a line from the workshop to the sleigh. "Be careful with that one, Sparkle. The contents are fragile," Twinkle shouted. Sparkle, who was just about 3 feet tall with hair as bright as stardust, nodded earnestly. Her small hands cradled a golden box adorned with shimmering ribbons, inside of which a delicate snow globe awaited a lucky child. With careful precision, she set it down on the sleigh among the already arranged gifts. Rumble, the elf known for his broad shoulders and unmatched strength, worked at the bottom of the sleigh. "This heavy gift is for the Johnson twins," he mentioned as he effortlessly lifted a large rectangular package, ensuring it nestled firmly into place. Tink, a tech-savvy elf, hovered nearby with a digital checklist. "That's 365 gifts down, and a couple hundred to go. But keep it up, team," she encouraged, adjusting her glasses. Santa watched with admiration as the elves immersed themselves in the task. "You all are the stars tonight. Each package snug in the sleigh is another joyful household when morning comes," he praised, his voice as warm and comforting as a cup of cocoa. As the gifts continued to mount, the clear night sky beckoned, with stars like diamonds against the velvet backdrop. The sleigh shimmered under the moonlight, a beacon of happiness, loaded with dreams, hopes, and the magic of Christmas. With the last gift securely fastened, and the sleigh more splendid than ever, Santa climbed aboard. "Thank you, dear elves," he said with a wave. "For every twist of ribbon, every careful stack, it all adds to the greatest gift of all, joy." And with that, a gentle tap of the reins signaled the reindeer to leap into the night, guiding Santa on his legendary journey to spread wonder across the world. The evening sky was draped in the deep blues and purples of twilight, dotted with the first twinkling stars. Deep in the snowy hinterlands of the North Pole, a sense of excitement echoed in the frosty air. It was a night like no other, the night before Christmas, when magic seemed to dance with every snowflake. At the center of this enchanting landscape stood a magnificent sleigh, polished to a dazzling sheen, adorned with golden trims that sparkled under the ethereal glow of the northern lights. Harnessed to this vessel of tradition and wonder was a team of reindeer, their coats glistening like a sea of sequins under the moonlight. Rudolph, with his nose so bright that it outshone the lanterns hanging off the sleigh's sides, stood at the forefront, serving as the guiding beacon for the incredible journey that lay ahead. His heart raced with a mixture of eagerness and duty, the jingling bells around his neck providing a festive cadence. Around him, the other reindeers, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen, stamped their hooves into the crunchy snow, sharing in his palpable anticipation. For months, they had prepared for this single night, ensuring that their endurance and speed were at their peak. The air was filled with the vitality of their collective energy, a bundled strength ready to weave its way through the steep winds and stretching clouds across the world. As Santa stepped out, dressed in his iconic red suit, his eyes twinkling with kindness and mischievous joy, an expectant hush fell over the group. "All right, team, this is what we've been training for." Santa's warm voice carried across the open space, resonating with unwavering confidence. "Let's make it a night to remember." With a powerful leap, Santa settled into his seat. The sleigh groaned ever so slightly under his weight before steady. With a soft "ho!" the magical creatures surged forward, their synchronized strides lifting the sleigh gracefully off the snowy ground. The bells on the harnesses rang out in cheerful harmony, echoing the festive joy spreading from the North Pole to every corner of the earth. As the sleigh flew higher, the ground shrinking below them, a sense of endless possibility filled the skies. And with Rudolph leading the charge, his nose lighting up the path ahead, they soared towards a night filled with adventure, sharing the timeless spirit of giving with every heart they touched. With a hearty ho, 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 Santa sets off into the night sky, his sleigh glowing against the stars. Rudolph leads the way, his nose shining bright, while the other reindeer follow closely behind, their bells jingling in rhythm. As they soar through the air, Santa recalls his last-minute preparations back at the North Pole. Earlier that evening, the elves had been in a flurry of activity, packing the last of the toys and making sure Santa's suit was crisply ironed and ready. Mrs. Claus handed Santa his steaming mug of cocoa with a knowing smile. She understood the immense task ahead of him. "Remember, Chris, the spirit of giving is the most important part," she had said, her eyes twinkling with warmth. As Santa rides the currents of air, he reflects on how things have changed over the years. With technology advancing, many children's requests have become more sophisticated: tablets, drones, and even digital gift cards. Still, some wishes remain timeless, like teddy bears and handcrafted wooden trains. Santa chuckled, remembering the young girl who had only asked for a peaceful night for her parents. His first stop is a tiny village nestled in a valley flanked by snow-capped mountains. As he lands quietly on a roof, Santa marvels at how each home glows with decorations, a testament to the joy of the season. From his bag, he pulls out an assortment of gifts, each one carefully chosen for the child sleeping inside the home. Sliding down the chimney with practiced ease, he places the presents under the shimmering tree. Taking care to eat the cookies and drink the milk left out for him, Santa whispers a blessing for the household before leaving. With a swift leap, he returns to his sleigh, making his way to countless other homes. Though the night is long and the journey arduous, Santa feels invigorated with the joy of bringing happiness to millions, one home at a time. As dawn approaches, Santa finally makes his way back home, filled with contentment. He knows that come next Christmas Eve, he'll be ready to do it all over again, with the same joyful heart and a dash of holiday magic. In the calm, quiet neighborhood of Willow Creek, snow gently fell outside, blanketing everything with a soft white coat. Inside one of the cozy houses, twinkling lights wrapped around a robust evergreen tree, casting a warm glow in the room. The flicker of the fireplace added to the homely ambience, a perfect setting for Christmas Eve. Santa's sleigh softly touched the rooftop as Rudolph and the other reindeer paused for a brief respite. Santa, dressed in his traditional red suit trimmed with white fur, stepped out, the snow beneath his boots crunching slightly. With a swift movement, he made his way to the chimney. Inside the house, all was silent except for the gentle crackle of the logs in the fireplace. A playful gray cat, curled up on the windowsill, opened one curious eye, but quickly returned to its slumber, unfazed by the arrival. Santa landed softly in the living room, brushing off some soot from his sleeves. His eyes twinkled with delight as he gazed around, appreciating the decorations thoughtfully put up by the family. He approached the Christmas tree, his eyes catching the shiny ornaments and carefully wrapped gifts. With a knowing smile, he placed a beautifully crafted shiny red train set under the tree. It gleamed under the lights, a special gift for the young child who had wished for it. Before leaving, Santa noticed a plate of cookies alongside a glass of milk on the mantelpiece. A note from the child, written in a wobbly hand, read, "For Santa, thank you." His heart warmed. He chuckled softly and took a bite of a delicious chocolate chip cookie. Feeling fulfilled, Santa slipped back up the chimney and onto the rooftop. As he settled into his sleigh, he whispered softly to his reindeer, "Onward, friends. We have many more smiles to deliver tonight." And with that, in a flurry of sparkling snow and jingling bells, they flew off into the starry night, leaving behind a house filled with Christmas magic. In the chilly silence of the night, the only sound was the gentle rustling of a nearby pine tree shimmering with snowflakes. As the moon cast its soft, silvery glow across the landscape, Santa Claus was busy going about his nightly duties. With a twinkle in his eye and a spring in his step, He landed noiselessly on the rooftop of a charming cottage nestled at the edge of a quaint village. Santa adjusted his red suit and tightened his black belt, ensuring everything was in perfect order before making his descent. The chimney, narrow yet inviting, led him directly into the cozy warmth of the living room. The room was dimly lit by the glow of softly flickering candlelight, casting dancing shadows along the walls decorated with vibrant holiday garlands. Beneath a beautifully adorned Christmas tree stood an array of carefully wrapped presents. Recognizing the thoughtfulness of the family, Santa retrieved a small, snug teddy bear that he had selected earlier that evening. Its fur was soft and inviting, golden in hue with a red velvet bow tied smartly around its neck. This teddy, however, carried a special message wrapped in hope and comfort. Santa reached into his pocket and pulled out a neatly folded piece of parchment. Unrolling it with gentle fingers, he placed the handwritten note of encouragement beside the teddy bear. The note, written in elegant cursive, read, "May this year bring you warmth, joy, and the courage to chase your dreams. Remember, you are loved more than you know." He lingered for a moment, feeling the peace and serenity of the home, before turning back toward the chimney. Before leaving, Santa cast one last look at the bear, so tiny and yet packed with love and meaning, before vanishing up the chimney in a puff of magic. Outside, sleigh bells chimed in the brisk night air as the reindeer awaited. Santa climbed aboard, his heart lightened by another good deed done. His journey continued across the world, sharing love and cheer, one teddy bear at a time, one handwritten note of encouragement at a time, to remind each child that they are cherished and never alone. On a crisp winter's night, the whole world lay blanketed under a sparkling quilt of fresh snow. The moon beamed brightly, casting an ethereal glow over the quiet lands below. High above the clouds, Santa Claus, aboard his sleigh, flew swiftly with a powerful reindeer leading the way. The sleigh was laden with brightly wrapped gifts, each destined to spread joy and happiness around the globe. As Santa soared through the starry sky, the bells on the reindeer jingled merrily, punctuating the stillness of the night. Cities twinkled below like constellations on Earth, their lights mirroring the stars above. In the distance, the dark outline of forests stood solemnly, whispering secrets to the night's breeze. Even the vast oceans reflected the night's serenity, their waves gently cresting as they dreamt. There was magic in that night, a kind that could only be felt by those who truly believed. As the sleigh dashed forward, snowflakes danced in the air, swirling around like tiny ballerinas in a celestial ballet. With a twinkle in his eye and a hearty ho, 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 Santa touched the hearts of every being, leaving behind a trace of laughter and warmth wherever he went. The first stop was a small village nestled between the mountains, where chimneys puffed out clouds of warm smoke. Santa carefully landed his sleigh on each rooftop, disappearing down chimneys with a bag full of gifts, only to emerge seconds later with a nod of satisfaction and a trail of magic dust. To the next house, he would cheer silently to his reindeer, and off they would go. As the night progressed, Santa's journey continued, flying over bustling cities and serene countryside. Each gift dispersed was a burst of happiness wrapped in ribbon and love. He crossed continents and oceans with ease, the enormity of the world shrunken by his mission to spread joy. As dawn hinted at the horizon, painting the sky with soft hues of pink and gold, Santa's annual odyssey drew to a close. The sleigh, now lighter, descended towards the North Pole, where elves waited to greet him with cheers and hot cocoa. The magic of the night lingered in the air, promising that as long as there were wishes to fulfill, Santa would again traverse the midnight sky full of wonder and dreams. Just before dawn, the serene landscape of the North Pole began to brighten with the first light of day. The elves, peeking from their windows, eagerly anticipated the return of Santa Claus. After a long night of delivering joy to children all around the world, Santa's sleigh appeared on the horizon, silhouette against the rising sun. Reindeer hooves sparkled in the crisp air, and the jingling of bells could be heard as he glided smoothly towards the village. Upon landing, Santa was met with raucous cheering from the gathered elves. "Welcome back, Santa," they chorused, filling the air with excitement and relief that another successful Christmas Eve had been completed. Among them was Mrs. Claus, hands warm with mugs of steaming hot cocoa. Her eyes twinkled with pride as she handed one to Santa, who gratefully accepted it with a tired but joyful smile. "You did it again, Santa," Mrs. Claus said, wrapping him in a loving embrace. "Now it's time to rest." Santa, his coat dusted with snow, sighed contentedly. "Yes, my dear, but first, let's gather round and hear some stories from the elves about their night." The elves clamored around, eager to share their tales of crafting toys, monitoring lists, and the little mishaps of the night spent preparing for Santa's arrival home. As the morning light embraced the North Pole in a golden hue, Santa, Mrs. Claus, and the elves sat together, recounting stories, laughter echoing through the frosty air. The promise of rest lay ahead, but first, the warmth of companionship shared amidst the snowy world ensured that the spirit of Christmas lingered just a bit longer in their hearts. In the dimly lit chamber of Santa's North Pole workshop, an air of tranquility pervaded as the final echoes of joyful laughter faded away. The journey across continents had been successful, leaving countless children with wide-eyed smiles and warm hearts. Now, amidst the silence and solitude, Santa stood holding a cherished object in his hand, a magical snow globe. The globe was not just any trinket among the many treasures collected over centuries. It was a gift from the elves, crafted from the mountains of ice far beyond the pole and imbued with a special charm. Whenever shaken, it came alive with a wintry spectacle reflecting the memories and joys of the recent night. Gazing deeply into the swirling snowflakes, Santa beheld scenes from his evening's travels. There was Tommy in London, jumping next to his fireplace, hugging a toy train. A spirited image of Marta in Barcelona flickered by, clapping her hands at her new bicycle. In Tokyo, Yumi awoke and gleefully unwrapped a beautifully painted set of dolls, each segment captured vividly within the globe. Each face, every smile, peered back at him through the lens of snow. With each one, Santa felt a surge of fulfillment, a validation of centuries-old traditions of joy-giving. His heart filled with warmth as if each child's happiness reflected back, wrapping him in mutual delight. However, it wasn't only the happiness of the children he cherished, it was the simple glory of the journey. Casting a glance outside, he imagined the world beneath a fresh blanket of snow, towns and cities where families now gathered around flickering fireplaces, sharing tales and laughter spinning through the air. In those moments of reflection, Santa realized once again the true magic he delivered wasn't confined to wrapped boxes and candies. It was in weaving together connections, joy, and love among people far and near. Setting the snow globe carefully back onto its shelf, Santa sighed contentedly. His thoughts lingered lightly on future journeys and the endless tapestry of joy ahead as the tranquil night at the North Pole embraced him, whispering soft promises of more smiles to come. Indeed, in the spirit of reflection, the night's adventure had only just begun.